Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Beyond the Politics, a regular examination of the events happening right here in the Quinte region and the people who work so hard behind the scenes to make it all happen. I'm your host, Paul Martin. Joining me as always, my co-host, columnist for the Belleville Intelligencer, Colin Mackay.
Thanks, Paul.
And as part of a very special series we're doing this year, being a double election year here in the Quinte region and the province of Ontario, we are very pleased to bring two high-profile NDP names to the spotlight today, starting right at the top with leader of the provincial NDP party, Andrea Horwath.
Hello, Paul. Hi, Colin. I'm really happy to be with you today. Thank you for the invitation.
So many things are going to be happening, and we're glad to have you right now. We're going to talk about a lot of the things that are campaign related, but first I just wanted to touch on Ukraine, which of course is something that we've all had on our minds since the invasion began about a week ago today. What have been your thoughts on this? And of course, this is certainly something, there are more than 1 million people of Ukrainian descent in Canada, and surely probably some of them associated with your own party. So what has it been like trying to deal with that, not only with the international fallout, but right here in the province of Ontario?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to all of the people of Ukraine, as well as Ukrainian Canadians and Ontarians, as you identified. I think there's 375,000 people of Ukrainian descent in Ontario alone. And around the world, we have Ukrainians living in many other places, and they're going through the horrors of war and watching their loved ones go through the horrors of war because of Vladimir Putin's desire to create chaos with his illegal, unwarranted attack on the Ukraine, on the people of Ukraine, and in a war that's not necessary and should never have been started. So we've been doing everything we can. Early on, I sent a note to my staff and people who work for the party, just to say our thoughts are with you, our hearts are with you. Reach out if you need support. We have, as you identified, Ukrainian folks, people of Ukrainian heritage, but also Russian heritage, and everybody is feeling really terrible, disgusted, worried, frightened, sad, mortified. I mean, the range of emotions.
Moving back here to the province of Ontario and some of the things that are happening, because so much is happening, including removing restrictions. So COVID's now been going on 2 full years plus, and we're entering a new stage now this month in the province of Ontario. How do you feel about removing those restrictions, and what do you think needs to be done to try to keep this under control at least?
Well, I mean, it's a really good point, Paul, about making sure things are under control. I can say that I'm with most Ontarians who are fed up. We're all exhausted. We all want things to go back to normal. But I think all of us, or let's just say the vast majority of us, are also, we're optimistic, but we're cautious. And I think that's got to be where we stay. Certainly, small businesses have been devastated. People have lost work. People have walked away from their dreams, really having to shutter their business. Lots of damage to the education of our children, being out of school so much. But we have to make sure that we don't go back. We can't go backwards. And so for us, it's always been about listening to the science, listening to the experts, and being cautious in our approach. And so, of course, as you know, many of the restrictions have been removed, and we are now, I think, grappling with some of the final things, particularly masking. And I just saw Peter Juni yesterday, I think it was, say, let's not go too fast when it comes to taking off the masks. I know some restaurants, you probably have this in the riding. Some restaurants are deciding to keep the certificates in place, the proof of vaccinations in place. Others are deciding not to. And I think that there's a mixed kind of sense from everyday people. Some are worried, some are fearful. Others, don't have as many worries about what circumstances they might engage in terms of being with other people. I really do think that we just have to be careful, and everybody needs to be thoughtful about what they're doing, because, as we know, certainly vaccinations have created this opportunity for the virus to be stopped or to be battled, let's put it that way. But as we know, it's a virus that's turned us around a couple of times, and I do
want to talk about healthcare specifically as part of this, but first you mentioned businesses as well. And as we now see these restrictions removed and people start going back out to restaurants and venues and sporting events and sort of more of the activities that we enjoy on a day-to-day basis, what kind of supports do these businesses still need? And how can we try to make sure they still remain viable but still safe?
That's a really, really great question. And this is something that we've been trying to urge the government to be more proactive on. We called for help for small and medium-sized businesses, particularly all through the pandemic. Sadly, the big fish got the attention, so the Walmarts of the world were able to sell everything under the sun, and the little fish didn't get the support that they needed from the government. As a result, as I mentioned, we lost a lot of businesses. But you're really, really accurate in indicating that the pain isn't over for small business. For those that were able to survive, there's still a lot of road to travel to make those businesses strong again. And so we've urged the government to look at specific sectors, specific types of businesses, look at supports in an ongoing way. So in some cases, businesses have been they've put themselves, not put themselves, but they've done everything they could to keep their doors open or to keep their business ready to reopen. And that has cost a lot of money. They've gone into significant amounts of debt. They've really gone into a financial hole that many of them are going to have a hard time getting out of. So let's be thoughtful about that. And why do we need to keep those businesses thriving is because that's where the jobs are going to be created or maintained. That's where we're going to continue to have our main streets and our tourism industries, for example, continue to be able to thrive.
Certainly many of the things are going to be coming out as we gear up for the election in June. But how are preparations for the election going? And are there other issues that you think will come to the fore as Ontario gets ready to go to the polls in a few months' time?
Well, I think you've really touched on a number of them. I think if there's an overarching issue, and we're not going to go into the interest rate thing or the cost of living thing, but it really is a big issue. The cost of living is huge. The cost of housing, people can't afford to keep a roof over their head. In communities like yours, there's a real problem around housing for employees, for example, for business, particularly businesses that are seasonal businesses. So for the tourism industry, employers can't find space for workers to be able to come and have a roof over their head while they work for the various businesses in the region. But we see it everywhere. So housing is a huge issue. The campaign, I mean, who knows where it's going to end up in terms of the top issue by the time we get to the ballot. For me, at this point, as I look at it, there are many problems that we're facing as Ontarians. And at this point, we've not, after 4 years of this government, after 15 years of a government that didn't fix a lot of these problems, in fact, in many cases made them worse. The hospitals were on their knees when Doug Ford was elected, and then COVID hit. The long-term care system was falling apart, and we all saw the tragedy and horror that happened in long-term care. 15 years of that not being addressed, and then the Conservatives came in with big cuts, bad decisions, bad choices. So it's about fixing some of these fundamentals. We're ready, I can say. We have 40 MPPs in the legislature as the official opposition. The Liberals are going into the campaign with 5. And so we have the experience. I keep saying we have the team with the steam. Because not only do we have a lot of MPPs already elected, but we also have the passion and the answers, the solutions. You mentioned earlier that when we were chatting that I had been the leader of my party for some time now, since 2009. What that says is that I know this province better than any of the other leaders, and that's a good thing. I've talked to people in Belleville and in Trenton and in Quinte West. I mean, I talked to people in Timmins and in Kingston, and I've talked to people in Windsor and in the James Bay, along the James Bay coast. I mean, I've been to Kenora. I know what the people of Ontario are dealing with. I've listened to what they have to say. And not only do we have a great team, but we have great candidates like Allison Kelly in your riding. And we have the solutions that people need to start to rebuild. And that's what this is all about. We need to rebuild this province in a way that really helps everyday people, not just some groups of people. but helps everyday people to afford to build a decent life here, to know that their education system and their healthcare system are going to be there for them when they need it, and that they can have a decent job with a decent pay that helps them put food on the table and have some dreams and hopes for the future.
Andrea,
Sorry, we just have one more minute. And thank you for your time. What can you say about Allison Kelly? She's representing the party here. What made her the choice to be the NDP candidate here in the Bay of Quinte?
Well, anybody who has met Allison just knows that she's a woman that sparkles with passion and with commitment. She's served on the school board now as a trustee for some time, and she's a person who's got the drive and the energy to really represent people, and not just to kind of come to Queen's Park and then tell people that she's doing her job, but actually bring the concerns that people have in your riding to the legislature for the purposes of actually making the changes that people need. I can say that Allison has proven her commitment to the community. She's raising her kids in the county, if I'm not mistaken. I think she was raised, in Belleville, but she knows your community. She's connected with so many organizations. I can remember her walking me through Picton not too long ago, visiting a lot of the great storefronts and talking to folks. Everybody knows her. She's just a wonderful human being, and she would do a great service to the people of the riding. There's just no doubt about it.
Well, we thank you so much for your time, Andrea Horwath, leader of the NDP. When we come back, we'll be speaking about the person that Andrea Horwath was talking about, our local candidate, Allison Kelly. You're watching Beyond the Politics.